So, 2 trophies down, 3 to go. That's the scenario facing Manchester United now, following the Carling Cup penalty shootout win over Spurs yesterday. Hello and a very warm welcome to the United Debate Show. I'm Albiston MEN, and as always, there plenty to discuss with my guests. I'm delighted to have Arthur Albiston and the Manchester Evening News Reds correspondent Stuart Mathieson alongside me. Gents, you're very welcome to the show. We'll start at Wembley yesterday. And was it very much a case of job done for United yesterday? Yeah, absolutely. That's the words for it, because I didn't think United played particularly well over the 120 minutes. I thought Tottenham marginally better. But, you know, at the end of the day, you've got to win it in the penalty shootout. United kept the nerve. They've all been there before, mind you. Every one of their penalty takers have done it on an even bigger stage in Moscow. So they had the advantage, the upper hand. And like you say, it's job done. It's another trophy. What more can you ask? What were your thoughts going into the penalties, particularly maybe with the Chelsea Champions League final in your mind?
Well, as Stuart said, some of our players have been through that scenario before, and I think when it comes down to after 120 minutes and people are tired, they've all got ability to kick the ball. Everybody knows that, but it just comes down to a bit of bottle and who can hold their nerve, and it proved to be United that did that. And obviously it's players that miss penalties that get remembered, but the goalkeepers have got a chance to do something, and Ben Foster stood up to the plate yesterday and performed excellent.
What were your thoughts about Ben Foster? I mean, he's one of those players who, I suppose in many ways, had it not been for injury, might already have been pushing for that first-team spot, wasn't he? Yeah, indeed, I think he would have been. I spoke to him in the run-up to the final last week, and you know, he was saying he's had an absolute nightmare of a time with injuries after coming back from the loan spell at Watford. And he said, you know, I hope I do get this chance because I want to jog a few memories. I want people to remind people that I am a decent goalkeeper. He was the England goalkeeper for one match. And, you know, he certainly jogged a few memories yesterday. I thought he was terrific. And the manager, Sir Alex Ferguson's already said that he's probably going to be the future England goalkeeper, the future Manchester United goalkeeper. And, you know, fingers crossed for him. If he keeps injury-free from now on, I don't see any reason why he won't be. And, of course, there's this thought that he'd been very sort of studious in his preparations for the possibility of a penalty shootout. I mean, how much of a significant part does it play to have that kind of homework done, if you like, on opposition penalty takers? Well, I think goalkeepers are obviously specialists. It's the only position they can play, and they are quite thorough, or all the goalkeepers I've played with are. And I could understand, well, you've got to have every edge possible now, haven't you? Any little advantage, it gives you any help. And certainly, I'm sure he got... well, he did get help from the goalkeeping coach, Eric Steele, and obviously Van der Sar might have had a word with him. Cusack might have done that as well, just giving them little tips, because Van der Sar obviously went through it all 6 or 8 months ago in Moscow. So every little advantage helps, and it proved to be helpful yesterday. What was the story emerging about some information that he actually had on an iPod or something? That's right, yeah. Well, Ben revealed this to us afterwards in the mix zone where the players talked to the media, and we were asking you, well, what preparation had you done over the last few days? And he said, well, we got all the information. And then he said, you might have noticed I was in deep conversation with Eric Steele, the goalkeeping coach, just as they were preparing to take the penalties. He said, we were looking at an iPod where they got video clips, as many as they can compile, of Tottenham's penalty takers. So he knew generally where they were going to place the ball under normal circumstances. So he had that late reminder of it as well. And you know, he said, I've never seen anything like it when Eric came in at the start of the season and brought this new innovation like with. He said, and now we're just, you know, it's the only tiny thing, and he's looking at them, last minute sort of homework, and he said, you know, it's won the day for us. Less instinctive than we might think then about a goalkeeper these days in a penalty shootout. Well, exactly, yeah. And I think all the pressure's actually on the penalty taker, because everybody expects them to score. Yeah. And the keeper really can come out the hero, and you know that's what happened yesterday. I mean, he was man of the match, not just for the penalty shootout. There's a couple of significant saves he made during the game, wasn't there? Yeah, he did. I mean, there weren't many chances, but you know, Tottenham had 2 very good ones. That was Aaron Lennon and Bent's effort, and yeah, he stood up to them really well, both of them. And interestingly enough, I was talking to him as well about England. He said, you know, he's not had a chance since he played in the friendly against Spain. He said, and I've never even spoken to Fabio Capello until we went up to lift the trophy. He said he shook my hand and wished me all the best. So well done, you know. So it's another reminder for him as well. So, and he wanted that sort of platform, and he got it. And you know, every Manchester United goalkeeper is not going to be that busy
in games, but he got 2 chances and his concentration levels were fantastic.
When you look at a goalkeeper, not just at Manchester United, but the biggest clubs in European football, they don't just have to have the raw materials, they have to have the mentality. Does it seem from the outside that he has it?
Without a doubt, he seems quite a laid-back type of chap. He's got a great presence in goal, that's one thing you've got to have. As you say, you've got to have the mentality to play at a club like United, where you're not only expected to win games, you're expected to win trophies every season. But he's one of the best I've seen for his use of the ball, his distribution, and the quickness he moves his feet. A couple of saves that Stuart mentioned yesterday, Lennon and Bent. Lennon was probably the best one, but he took a couple of touches, and it just allows Ben Foster to move his feet a little bit and get himself in position. Still got to make the save, but he's very alert in goals and good passer of the ball at the back, and right and left foot as well. So you can't ask for any more.
And from what you are sort of gauging, would you assume that Ben Foster is going to have a more significant, immediate role with Manchester United's first team?
I think possibly not to the end of the season. I don't think we'll see him much in the Premier League. I don't think we'll see him in Europe. I think he's now established himself as a number 2 above Thomas Kuszczak, or I think he has anyway. You'll probably see him in the FA Cup matches as long as United can go on in that. But I think there'll be a bit of a sea change, next season really. I think Edwin will be nearly 39 when the season starts, and I think there'll be a gradual process where Ben, if he continues this progress, will take over in the big matches from Edwin, and Edwin will be sort of phased out almost. It'll be gradual. It won't be sort of overnight like that. But I think he's got the attributes and mentally and the ability as well to take it on board and do that. And I think possibly by the end of this time next season, I think we'll be looking probably at Ben Foster almost being the number 1 now.
I guess it's the same as an outfield player, isn't it? Slowly building a player into it, getting him used to the bigger occasions before taking over the mantle of someone in front of him. Yeah,
and he's learning from one of the best in the game. But certainly, I think after that performance yesterday, I think that he's done enough to get back into the England squad, and that's a similar thing. That's a learning thing, going back with the squad, and that will give him a boost. But I'll be very surprised if he's not in the next England squad. Yeah,
of course, bearing in mind that Joe Hart now isn't Manchester City, for example, isn't in the first team there. I mean, there is an opening door with David James not getting any younger as well.
Well, that's it, and England have had a problem with goalkeepers. I don't think there's anyone really nailed it down at all. Even David James, I think, we've seen errors from him. So I don't think anyone's sort of got the gloves and said, these are mine. Ben's just really needed the platform, and he's not had it for a little while, because of injuries. And I think he, when he got in for that game against Spain in the friendly a couple of years back, you felt, this is him for good, in there for that squad. Circumstances, unfortunately, did for him. But I think if he gets a more regular role for United, because he said yesterday, Capello has made it plain that you're not going to get in on your name, you're going to get on your merit. So you've got to be playing, and he possibly might not be playing that much this season. But I think once he is playing, I think he will be England's regular.
Let's talk about the trophy in sort of context of Manchester United's season. Obviously, it's a final, and any team wants to win it, but there's a certain significance attached to getting the first domestic trophy available, isn't there? And what do you think it means to United at this stage to already have a trophy domestically? Well,
it gives everybody a boost. It gives the fans a boost. That's number 1. They've travelled down there, and it's not cheap to follow football these days. So they've seen their side win a trophy. The players will get a boost from it. The staff do as well. They went to Japan in December, come back with that trophy. That gives everybody a lift. So now, getting to a crucial stage of the season, we're now into March, and the games become a little bit tricky now and a little bit edgy as we get nearer the end of the season. So everybody's going into March, April and May now with a feel-good factor about it. We've got to go up and play Newcastle on Wednesday night, and they'll be full of beans, full of confidence. All right, the team will be changed around a bit, but the whole squad are coming back last night and feeling good about themselves.
Of course, this thought of them basically winning every trophy they're involved in, I mean, that's moved another step closer. I mean, it's an extraordinary prospect, isn't it?
It is extraordinary, but I mean, you have to say, I can understand the actual people inside Old Trafford are not going to say it's on, but why shouldn't it be on? Because, I mean, there's no evidence that anything can go wrong in terms of they've managed to survive injuries and things like that. They've got through all that. There's this momentum that built up, like the treble season. You know, players just want to play when you're winning trophies, and then the manager's got this rotation thing off pat now. I mean, there's no sort of worries about. There don't seem to be any worries about sort of bringing different players in and upsetting the equilibrium. He's getting through all that, so I can't see where the danger is coming from. Except, I think the big warning sign is what's happened to Barcelona in Spain, because a fortnight ago Fergie's talking about them being the best footballing side in Europe, running away with it, 12 points ahead of La Liga. They've had 2 matches on the trot now, dropped 4 points. And suddenly the question marks are there. So it can happen. You can be absolutely dominant like they have been, and suddenly it's going to pieces. And, you have to wonder, if someone takes a point off United somewhere, or if they'd have lost that final, it can be a domino effect. And I'm sure that's what the manager's guarding against, really.
And, of course, Carling Cup yesterday, Premier League Wednesday, FA Cup Saturday, Champions League following week. They're all the different permutations are going to be examined over these next sort of 9-10 days or so as well.
Well, exactly, and that's the exact position that the manager and the players would want to be in at this stage of the season. He's going to have a few headaches, the manager, headaches that he's quite happy to have, because he's probably going to have to tell some players you're not playing again in certain games that you've just mentioned. They won't be happy, but they know it's a squad game, and they've hopefully got, between now and the end of May, they might have about 20-odd games still to play. They're all going to play a part in that. And you've got to, if you get dropped, you're not happy, or you get rested, whatever you want to call it, you've got a bit of a point to prove. You want to get back on and make sure when you get a game, I'm going to play that well, you're not going to leave me out. So that's the healthy competition you need, and it's a problem that the manager would be delighted to have.
OK, plenty to discuss in part two. We've been talking about the Premier League coming up next. We'll be talking about that. The Inter Milan last week, so many things to discuss. Stay with us, we'll be back after the break. Welcome back to part two of the United Debate Show. Joining me in the studio, former United fullback Arthur Albiston and Stuart Mathieson, Manchester United correspondent for the Manchester Evening News. Well, we were talking in part one about the Carling Cup. Next, of course, is Newcastle away in the Premier League. And during the weekend, with United not in action, all right, Chelsea won, but Liverpool lost. So, again, good things happening that United don't have control over as well.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the discussion going down to London yesterday was, could United have effectively have won the league without playing that weekend? Because
do you think it's as significant as that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because they're ahead now.
7 points.
Yeah,
game in hand, I think.
Yeah, exactly, the game in hand. So, and I think Liverpool have gone. I don't think you can. You can't discount them, but I can't really see it myself. Chelsea are the worry. They've got the boost of Hiddink coming in, and they're better equipped to mount as some kind of a challenge. But I think we'll look back on this weekend and probably say that was when it won. United might drop a point or two, but I can't see them losing enough matches to squander this title now.
No, and Chelsea, you would think I think they've got the strength. They've got the strength and depth as well. And they've got a new manager coming, albeit just at the end of the season, but all the players are probably wanting to go out and impress him. He's a wily old character, knows his football, so they're all on a little bit of a up at the moment, whereas Liverpool seem to be nosediving. So Chelsea are capable of winning 8-9 games in a row, but as Stuart said, they're going to have to rely on United losing 2 or 3. And I think when you get to this stage of the season and the manager's got everybody fit, squad of 24, 25, we can change the team around, leave 3 or 4 out, and it's like a seamless transition. Players come in and they know exactly what's expected of them. So we've got ourselves in a great position, and you take that at the beginning of the season if you're like this in March the 1st.
I mean, obviously Newcastle had a damaging defeat yesterday in their own sort of schedule. This is a game that they've got to put up a show. I mean, obviously St James's Park, 52,000, etc. But can't underestimate the significance to Newcastle of this game on Wednesday either.
You can't, but I've seen United do so well at St James's Park against good Newcastle sides, very good Newcastle sides, and indifferent Newcastle sides. And they always seem to do well up there. I mean, there have been one defeat, I think, something like that. But, even against the best Newcastle have offered in the last 10, 15 years, United have always won up there. So, I don't really see a lot of danger in this particular game. They had a bad defeat, obviously, on Sunday. I think they're going to be very low. The manager's not there at the moment. He's recuperating. You know, they're not a side in form or with any kind of confidence. So, you know, I don't see a problem for United.
You feel as confident as that?
Yeah, you've got to agree with Stuart. The manager's obviously taken ill, and everybody wishes him all the best. Chris Hughton's in charge. Colin Calderwood's there as well. So it's a little bit of a difficult period for Newcastle. But from our point of view, if we go up there and hopefully take the lead, you can't see Newcastle having the drive or the energy or the belief that they're going to get back in it. They've just got to hope that they're going to hang on at 0-0 for as long as they can. But United have got enough firepower. I know they never scored a goal yesterday in 20 minutes, but they've got enough firepower to win the game.
Of course, there was a few people that weren't even involved yesterday who I imagine will be selected for Wednesday. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I think so. I think I foresee that Wayne Rooney will recover from his virus. He seemed to look all right yesterday. He came out with a scarf around his neck after the game, but during the match he seemed quite bright enough on the touchline area. So I think he'll be back. Obviously, Berbatov, I think, will be back. So the firepower that you say there, that Arthur was saying, was lacking at Wembley. I think that's going to be back in abundance. And you know, I don't see Newcastle defence holding them, to be honest.
And I mean, again, part of this sort of competition triumvirate that's left. I mean, the FA Cup at the weekend, then Inter Milan's second leg, and there's a lot. You mentioned there's sort of rotation, if that's how you like. I mean, do you think he looks 2-3 games in advance? I'm going to play this kind of side for Newcastle, this kind of side for the FA Cup at Fulham, and barring injuries, of course.
Yeah, I think obviously the manager's very thorough in his preparation, and I think he would be looking at a week or two in advance. But obviously, I think when you get nearer the end of the season, and as we're talking about, things become a little bit more difficult, quarter-finals, semi-finals, important competitions, important league games, sometimes you've just got to go full blast with your most experienced or what you would maybe think is your best 11. But as I said before, we've got such a squad of players that you can take players out and bring other players in, and the transition's quite sort of level. There's no problem. So we've got a squad that's big enough to get us through at the end of the season, and with a fair amount of luck, and we're going to need it, especially in the cup competitions, with a fair amount of luck, we could end up with 2 or 3 more trophies.
And Fulham are, in many ways, one of the teams of the season, aren't they? Really, let's be honest about it. They've, especially at home, they've been terrific. Like Portsmouth was last year, in many ways. Those are the kind of games, particularly 90 minutes, where a bounce of the ball, a decision here and there. I mean, that's going to be a tough encounter at Fulham, isn't it? Yeah,
well, on the face of it, I think at the moment, if there's going to be a threat to this quintuple, then I think it's going to be at Fulham, because I don't think it's an easy place to go to, Craven Cottage. United have struggled there at times, nicked games late at times, but in a quiet, modest way, I think Roy Hodgson has formed a pretty decent side there, and hard to beat at home, as you mentioned. If it had been at Old Trafford, I would say, no problem. As they proved recently in the league at Old Trafford, they trounced them almost, you know. But down in London, I think it's going to be a tough one for United, because, you know, I don't think he's going to be playing his strongest side, because they've got Newcastle, so they've got that to think about, players playing there, and this Fulham sandwich between that game at Newcastle and then the Champions League with Inter Milan. So you're not going to see the best United 11, shall we say. So I think it's a tricky one at Fulham.
I think Roy Hodgson's the job he's done at Fulham's excellent, but they've got themselves in the position in the Premiership where they're comfortable. So a lot of managers at other clubs have left players out and weakened their team in FA Cup games, but this is a quarter-final for Fulham. They're at home. And I think he'll put out his strongest side. They played up at Old Trafford a few weeks ago. They were awful. There's a few players injured, fair enough, Johnson being one of them. But different at the Cottage, tight little ground, and they've got confidence playing there because they've not lost many. But I think he'll play his strongest side available because they're in the quarter-finals.
It's a big challenge, that one, isn't it, really? I mean, like, as Arthur's just said, for Fulham, they can see silverware. I know it's Manchester United in the way, but they can see silverware, can't they?
Yeah, well, this is their only chance now of silverware.
Some glory,
Yeah, they're fairly safe. Well, they are safe, I think, in the Premier League. So, that, as Arthur said, he can put all his eggs in this basket now and play his strongest side, Roy Hodgson. And I'm sure he'll make this plain to them. You know, if you're going to, unless your season is going to end now in the early March, you've got to win this one and go for it. So I think they'll be ready for this one. And like I say, I think it's going to be a toughie.
And of course, the second leg against Inter Milan, because it was 0-0, because United didn't get the away goal that they crave, albeit it was a draw, they didn't concede any either. It means that Sir Alex really knows that he's got to start off with his best 11 in the second leg against Inter Milan, a few days later. Yeah,
he's got to play his most experienced side, players that have been through this before, know how to get a result in situations like this. We had a similar situation last season against Barcelona, drawn, no score away, a little bit of a nervy game, got through it, played well. I don't think Milan are anywhere near as good as Barcelona, but an Italian team away from home, they'll be trying every trick in the book to stop the flow of play, committing fouls, all sorts of things, just to slow the game down and not United out their stride, basically, not get the game flowing. So I'm sure Mourinho will be telling his side, look, you'll get a goal here, but maybe they will get a goal, but I'm still confident enough that United can score maybe 2 or 3 against that side.
Yeah, I think the concern with Milan is that I can't see a Jose Mourinho side playing as badly as Inter did in the San Siro. I think there's something left in their side. United played really well over there, but I'm just slightly concerned that Inter Milan can play a lot better. And, like you say, if you don't get that away goal, I mean, Mourinho has done it at Old Trafford so many times. He's had 4 results that would actually knock United out of the Champions League. So I think it's going to be a difficult one for them. But, United have got the goals in them still.
If they create as many chances in Milan, if they create as many chances at Old Trafford, they'll probably get more than that, I would think, playing at home. They'll get through this game.
What do you think we learnt about Inter Milan? Observers of football that we are. What do you think we learnt about Inter Milan from that first game?
Well, I was very surprised how, the lack of fouling, if you like, and the lack of tackling. I just thought they were at the back. They looked nervous. A lot of the players looked annoyed. United. Oh, am I playing against Ronaldo? I don't want to kick him. You play against Italian teams. They're kicking you, they're pulling you.
Of course, there wasn't one Italian in that team.
Let's
be honest.
Argentinians are worse usually as well, by the way. But certainly, South American players, defenders know how to try every trick in the book. And as I say, at Old Trafford, they're going to be under pressure. Our crowd will make us go forward, and I think that they'll be a little bit more happier like that because they'll break the game up and try and just run the clock down, especially in the first half, and try and get to half-time at no score. So, but I've got plenty of confidence at United. They've got enough, as we spoke about before, firepower to get goals.
OK, well, thanks you, gents. I think your thoughts are that United will probably triumph at Newcastle. Fulham might be a bit trickier. And then we shall see about Inter Milan. Stuart, thank you very much. Arthur, thanks again for your time. That's it for this week's United Debate Show. Join us same time, same place. Until then, from all of us here, it's goodbye.